Hello and welcome to today's broadcast. I'm Davina. This is Make Politics Interesting, or MPI, and the topics are Politico and a former Politico journalist called Blake Hounsell, who was writing for the New York Times until today when he sadly died, having taken his own life. So I'm a little sad because I followed him, mostly because he wrote an article about his conversion from dismissing the notion that Trump had colluded with Putin and the Russian government to noting the wide and broad number of details that indicated there was some type of connection between the two governments, so that making it look increasingly likely that candidate Trump had, in fact, in some form communicated with or worked together with Vladimir Putin and the Kremlin. So thank you for your honesty, Blake Hounsell and Vale, and rest in peace, etc. I think it also highlights that when we're forming coalitions with people whose conscience, whose sense of decency have prompted them to admit previous errors of judgment, that this is a journey to be managed carefully, because we have to welcome people who see the light. And yes, we're treading a thin line because you don't want to be handing out too many passes or too much amnesty to people who maliciously commit crimes against humanity, truth, etc. But I can definitely isolate my concerns about people's past to hold out a welcoming branch to those who admit when they were wrong about something, because I think it is a brave thing to do, and I want to encourage others to do that. We depend on the decency of whistleblowers and reconsiderers, as I will call Blake. So just to visit his article, it was published in 2018, and it got the Friday cover of Politico magazine. The title was "Why I'm No Longer a Russiagate Skeptic. Facts are piling up and it's getting harder to deny what's staring us in the face." It's a picture of Trump and some stars alternating with the Russian sickle and hammer cross. That's the symbol of communism. So I'm not sure if he's joking or not, but his first paragraph says, "When I wrote back in February that I was skeptical that Donald Trump would ever be proved to have secretly colluded with Russia to sway the 2016 election in his favor, I mistyped. What I meant to write was that I wasn't skeptical." So I guess he's jokingly saying there that, yeah, he mistyped. Sure, he was never wrong. He wasn't skeptical, not that he was skeptical. Because last week's events have nullified his previous skepticism. And so this was in 2018 when he wrote this. To recap the previous week, he wrote that Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein revealed indictments against 12 Russians for the hacks of the DNC, the Democratic National Committee. And we learned that Russian hackers went after Hillary Clinton's private office for the first time on the very day that Trump publicly said, "Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the blah, 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 30,000 emails that are missing." Side note, 30,000 emails were not missing. At the NATO summit in Brussels, Trump attacked a close European ally, Germany, and generally questioned the value of the alliance. Next, he visited the United Kingdom and trashed Prime Minister Theresa May. Then in Helsinki, he met with Vladimir Putin privately for 2 hours with no US officials present other than a translator. After this suspicious meeting, he sang the Russian strongman's praises at a news conference at which he said he viewed Putin's denials on a par with the unanimous and unchallenged conclusions of America's intelligence agencies. In fact, I think that's incorrect. He said he valued Putin's denials more so than the intelligence agency's findings, those American intelligence agencies. So I'm just going to press play on this video clip because I think what it shows is some clips from that Helsinki meeting, the public part of it, because of course, as Blake noted, there were 2 hours of a private meeting and the translator's notes were destroyed. This ad. Sorry for the ad. We'll just ignore that and I'll check to see if there's any comments. Hi, August is here. Nice to see you. All right. Skip ad. Woohoo. Okay.
Get along. We are the, to see us get along. We are the 2 great nuclear powers.
Distinguished President, I'm delighted to be able to meet you here in Finland on Finnish soil.
Helsinki is the capital of Finland, yes.
But our relationship has never been worse than it is now. However, that changed as of about 4 hours ago.
President Putin, did you want President Trump to win the election? And did you direct any of your officials to help him do that?
Да, я хотел, чтобы он выиграл. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Because he talked about bringing the U.S.-Russia relationship back to normal.
I have great confidence in my...
So, you know, the media obviously didn't make enough of a fuss about that, but that was a direct admission from Putin. I'm just going to go back because the screen didn't even focus on him directly. I wanted to see his expression when he was saying da, meaning yes in Russian. Yes, yes, I did, because he talked about bringing the U.S.-Russian relationship. So the question was, did you or any of your officials help Trump win that?
Yes, I did. Because he talked.
I want to go backwards a little bit. Yeah.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Because he talked about bringing the U.S.-Russia relationship back to normal.
I have great confidence in my intelligence people, but I will tell you that President Putin was extremely strong and powerful in his denial today. And what he did is an incredible offer. He offered to have the people working on the case come and work with their investigators with respect to the 12.
Oh, an incredible offer. Putin offered for American intelligence operatives to go to visit him in Russia, to work in Russia with respect to the 12 people. And Trump thinks that's an incredible offer because, of course, the view from those Russian windows may be a little precarious, but it's an incredible view, an incredible offer. Just a coincidence that so many people fall out of windows or are poisoned or have other negative fates befall them if they happen to expose Putin's wrongdoings in any way, shape, or form.
People, I think that's an incredible offer.
That's right, we can read that. Minimize it for a minute. Oh, it just skipped to the next story. All right, no, I would prefer the last story. But I can't do that right now. Okay, so anyway, I am grateful that Blake wrote about his changing skepticism. So he notes that with every other world leader, Trump attempts to dominate. Witness his alpha male handshakes with French President Emmanuel Macron or his flamboyant man-spreading next to German Chancellor Angela Merkel. Yet with the diminutive Putin, who is maybe 5 feet 6 inches tall, he's oddly submissive. During the public portion of their encounter, Trump was slumping in his chair as if defeated. Why? Why did he insist on a one-on-one meeting with Putin in the first place? And why does Trump inevitably return to questioning the irrefutable evidence that Russia meddled in the 2016 election? We can dispense with the explanation conveyed anonymously by senior administration officials that his brain can't process that collusion and cyber attacks are 2 different things. We can also forget about the widely held theory that he views the various Russia investigations as a threat to the legitimacy of his election and therefore a devastating blow to his self-worth. No, it's not just ego that made Trump deny the collusion narrative, it's self-interest. Trump was keen on opposing the true story of a Russia-Trump connection and inappropriate Russian interference and Trump campaign acceptance of that help, because it highlights Trump for what he was, illegitimately elected in 2016, and also moving forwards in 2020, he was, before the election, moving mountains to try to create a climate to sow doubt on the likely outcome that Biden would win and that he would be defeated. There was a lot of work Trump put in to sow the seeds of doubt in his supporters that any Biden win would be legitimate, even though Republicans, particularly elderly and less mobile Republicans, typically availed themselves of opportunities to vote by mail. Trump was keen to make the story take hold in the minds of Republicans that mailed-in votes were highly susceptible to fraud and democratic interference and perversion, and were therefore not safe. And you can see he did that in the context of COVID, in the hope of delaying the mail and building up heightened emotion after the in-person votes were counted on the day of the election, so that he could declare an early victory and then ramp up the emotions of his followers by declaring any subsequent vote counting to be clearly illegitimate and fraudulent. He was always working on building the temperatures towards an insurrection, whereby he could use his followers as foot soldiers in the violent prong of an insurrection plan, a plan to overthrow American democracy and retain the office of the presidency regardless of the outcome. So Biden wins, Trump still intended to hold on to that office through various nefarious strategies and plans. Throw shit at the wall. Whatever his advisors could tell him, he tried on, and also his own efforts to sow doubt about the legitimacy of mail-in voting, and to do so knowing that COVID would make establishment voters who trusted doctors, voters who trusted public health officials, would be more likely to use mail-in votes in order to avoid queues and indoor socializing or indoor waiting periods where they could be exposed potentially to a virus that could be mild, could be deadly. You could be an inadvertently deadly spreader of a disease. And responsible, decent people wanted to avoid that. And Trump knew that responsibility and decency and clear-sightedness were all qualities that would lead people to vote for Biden rather than Trump. So August is noting that the media is part of the problem here, with both sidesism, whataboutism, and just a high degree of complicity, which is likely to be led by various media moguls who have made a palpable effort to buy different media platforms after all their complaints that the media was too left-leaning. CNN was bought by somebody right-wing. And yes, the media ecosystem is definitely quite more rightward than people might imagine. So this is a chap called John Harris from Politico, founding editor of Politico. He said the Politico newsroom is in anguish. Blake Council had a dazzling mind full of original insights about a vast array of subjects. I'm not surprised he had depression. It must be very hard to be someone who swallowed the conservative line and then stepped out and said, there's a lot of evidence to suggest collusion, some form of collusion between Trump and Russia. So yes, I will take note of their grief, and I respect that. Where I should be quick because oh yes, the media being a little bit problematic this evening, trying to scandalize new reporting on classified documents found at Biden's former office, found by lawyers, opening a locked cupboard, found 10 classified documents. Could not be more profoundly different from what happened with Trump, that he ignored subpoenas, moved documents when the authorities were trying to ask for their safe return into the chain of command, chain of custody, and to be returned to the National Archives. Biden's lawyers have, within 24 hours, organized for retrieval by the National Archives of these classified documents. I'm also going to note that it's, to me, gross and shameful that Republicans got enough votes, even after the insurrection, even after Trump, even after Trump's mismanagement of COVID, and then his efforts to violently overthrow American democracy and to pervert the 12th Amendment. I'll read a little bit of it, the relevant sentence. The person having oh, damn, I can't read it. I have to stop broadcasting. But read the 12th Amendment. This is my pocket copy of the Constitution. That the person having the greatest number of votes for president shall be the president, if such number be a majority of the whole number of electors appointed. And if no person have such majority, this is how you activate the 12th Amendment. You have a contested majority. Then from the persons having the highest numbers, not exceeding 3. So the top 3 of presidential candidates, not exceeding 3 on the list of those voted for as president. The grammar of these old-timey, sorry, I'll be respectful. The Constitution, not an old-timey document, a founding father document. The House of Representatives shall choose immediately by ballot the president. Well, the Democrats had a majority in the House of Representatives. That should have still been a Biden victory then, shouldn't it? In the outcome of a contingent election stipulated by the 12th Amendment of the Constitution. That should have been fine, right? No. Next sentence. But in choosing the president, the votes shall be taken by states, the representation from each state having 1 vote. And Republicans had 26 states under their control. So even though it's the number of representatives in the House is related to the differing populations of the differing states, so overall the Democrats had a House of Representatives majority. At the time of the certification of Joe Biden's election win, there would have been 26 states with 1 Republican representative being the delegate for each of those states in a activation of the 12th Amendment of the United States Constitution, saying if there's no clear majority for a presidential candidate, then the House of Representatives shall elect a president. There will be a contingent election, but only 1 person from each state. 26 out of 50 would have been a majority Republican. For Republicans, Trump would have then used the Constitution to put a veneer of legitimacy over what would have been a stolen election. Trump sought to use the Constitution, the 12th Amendment specifically, to steal an election by virtue of delaying Biden's election win certification on the 6th of January, which is stipulated in the Constitution. The 6th of January is the date in this document for the certification of an election win. Once that had been delayed through violent means, etc., through maybe Trump instituting martial law, he would have activated a contingent election, 26 Republican delegates voting for Trump in the House of Representatives, and Trump declaring victory over Joe Biden through that mechanism. Would have been very messy. There would have been a lot of conflict, but that was Trump's intention. That was Trump's plan. He is not as much of an idiot as everybody continues to argue. Not everybody, there's some people who don't. But the point is, the man is crafty and capable of making nefarious plans. He's not well-read or anything. I don't have to say that his vocabulary is extensive, although he did call Ron DeSantis Ron DeSanctimonious. So I think sometimes he downplays his own vocabulary in order to cultivate an everyman persona with his masses of non-college educated followers. he did go to college. I'm prepared to accept he may have cheated and got terrible grades, but he went there. He knows what sanctimonious means. He knows how to spin a scheme. I think he's impulsive, a hoarder, narcissistic, blah, blah. Sure. Personality flaws, yes. Entirely stupid and demented, no. It would be nice to think that. Too many Americans indulge in that kind of propensity for looking down on others. It's not necessary in this case, and it's doing a disservice to democracy to underestimate Donald Trump's capacity to scheme against the American people and to scheme against any institution that stands in the way of him getting access to power and wealth and influence. So I would love it if the public understood more about how he mismanaged COVID purposefully as a strategy to enhance his own potential to game America's election system and to try and position himself to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat in the event of what he knew would be a likely Biden win. Yes, August notes that Trump has opened the door for George Santos, Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, etc. Absolutely. There's energy that's obtained from splitting the atom. Fascists understand that there's energy that's unleashed from splitting, from overturning civilized norms, the norms of refraining from indulging in open racism and cultivating xenophobic hate. We understood that after World War II. It's a cyclical pattern, evidently, with humans, that we commit atrocities, resolve not to be like that anymore. Time passes, forget about it, and exploitative people begin to engage in those behaviors once again. And when I say those behaviors, I mean whipping up in-group, out-group, well, in-group solidarity and animosity towards an out-group, a shifting collection of out-groups. In Hitler's Germany, the out-groups were Jews, communists, people who could be blamed for Germany's surprise loss in World War I, because the German media tried to be so patriotic that they did a massive disservice to the German population. They always told the German population that everything was going well for the German side in World War I. They didn't report battle losses. They were cheerleaders for Germany's militaristic efforts and militaristic campaigns. And then when Germany lost, this was a big surprise to the German people and created space for someone who could provide an explanation as to why there was such an unexpected loss. So instead of just going along with reality and hearing about various military defeats, Germans were lied to and lied to and lied to, and then suddenly an undeniable loss of such magnitude that it was shocking and a big slap to the ego, the collective ego of the German people, because they hadn't had the news broken to them gradually along the way. And this created a mythology that Germany had been winning, but had last minute been stabbed in the back by people it trusted. So, who are people you trusted but are actually outsiders? Why not look to the Jews, whose loyalty you can disparage if you are prone to fabricating conspiracy theories about people? And then you can start to say the world is ruled by an elite cabal of Jewish bankers, et cetera, et cetera. So this is, this is the problem with Trump using American exceptionalism as a way to capitalize on the disappointment of those who have missed out on actualizing their hopes and dreams. And Trump specifically sold shirts that said billionaire in training. So people who believe that they can just replicate Trump's successes, when Trump's successes have been actually characterized by a lot of failure, of a gift of, in today's terms, $413 million from his father, and a lot of exposure to how to do shady business practices and launder money and make deals with criminals, whether it be the Italian mob or the Russian mob. So that's what Trump has that a lot of these billionaires in training don't have, is seed money of $413 million that he then frittered away on a lot of unsuccessful business ventures, but was able to sustain his level of apparent wealth by defrauding banks, by overinflating the value of his assets when applying for loans with banks so that they could confidently say, oh, yep, he's done so well for himself, we can just trust him and throw more millions of dollars at him. And underinflating his assets when describing what he owned to the tax office and what his income streams were, so that he could say, poor me, I'm always just losing so much money, I don't have to pay any tax. And in fact, he did pay $0 tax dollars some years, and in 2017 paid $750 in income tax for the entire year. This is a fact that needs broad circulation for those of us who understand that we would be accountable if we committed income tax fraud. It's not okay for someone to continue to get white-collar crime wrist slaps and to continue to evade legal consequence, and then to use that appetite for evading consequence to run for political office so that you can then appoint an attorney general who will hide evidence of your crimes and refuse to prosecute you. To capitalize on the already large tendency that America has at a judicial level to ignore, under-prosecute, under-investigate, and under-convict, and under-consequence deliver for white-collar crimes. So that's all I'm going to say today, other than why is the Federalist Society trending? I will check on that before I go. The Federalist Society is trying to come up with an argument that leaked gas stoves are protected by the Second Amendment. It's obviously a joke, but I don't understand. Whoa, Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI. Oh, yes, he did help overturn Roe v. Wade indirectly if you looked at how he has now admitted to botching the investigation into Brett Kavanaugh, because there were a lot of people coming forward to describe how he had exposed his penis to a fellow Yale classmate. Oh, that's me, gotta go. All right, cheers, everybody.